Hello, everyone. Glenn Flaherty again, Board Games and Bourbon. Welcome. I want to talk about Newdale, Stagg Jr., and why you shouldn't listen to those reviewers who review games after one play and all that hot take nonsense that's really going to be either unfair to game creators or some sort of scarlet letter on your own wallet. Well, I bought Newdale for a few reasons. One, it was based on Oh My Goods, which is a Pfister game that is highly lauded, and it's about building engines and doing a lot of cool card play. Well, this one here is based on that, has solo capability. Now, the other card game has solo, but you had to buy expansions. This is built in. It came with a board that adds kind of a spatial element to that I was pretty excited about. And there's also sort of a campaign element to it where the game evolves a little bit as you go along. That really interested me a lot. When I played this game the first time, I was like, oh, this is so neat. The cards, how they work, you have cards in this game, and the cards produce item A, and then another card produces item B. Then you can link A and B to produce C, which is more valuable and helps you win the game. But as the game went on and we got into 10, 11 games of it, now I'm playing this solo. I bought it for the solo experience. My opinion of the game has changed drastically. I want to get into those details. But before we get too far, today's day drinking is brought to you by Stagg Junior Bourbon. Now that's by Buffalo Trace, and a lot of the Buffalo Trace stuff is actually all the same mix, whether you get Buffalo Trace or Pappy Van Winkle. Stagg Jr. in this case are my favorite bourbon of all time, George T. Stagg. I've never owned a bottle, but I wish I could. It's just $99 is the MSRP, but you usually can't find it in a store unless you're paying $700, and I just can't justify that. But Stagg Jr. is my favorite. I would say it's even better than a lot of the other lauded brands like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, which lost its age statement and isn't what it once was. It's up there with Booker's and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a really great bourbon, try Stagg Jr. if you can get your hands on it. Should be around $60. The odd store might try to sell it for $100. Okay, so what happened in this game? Well, okay, let me explain so you get a premise of what's happening here to kind of understand the points I'm trying to make. In this game, you are going to get cards. The gameplay is based around cards. Cards are both going to be a currency in the game and also going to be structures that you're building in the game. And those structures turn into more points, and points help you win and stuff like this. Now, when you play the solo game, you're going to get a solo card. And where is it in this case? In this case, it's called Rations. And this one says at the game end, you need 30 money, 30, whatever the currency is in this game, produced by making food. You need 30 victory points. You also need 2 military in the game. There are certain cards that say military. Okay, now that automatically puts you in a position where only half the game is available to you. When you play multiplayer, you really just want to be the person with the most points. Here it's saying that you have to have only food production. Now, the game has cards that produce military, textile, and then food. Now, you start with a coal, and the coal can go towards helping you get that food production, but that requires specific cards to do it. Otherwise, you're hunting. The game tells you on the beginning of your turn to take 8 cards, and from these 8 cards, select 5, and hopefully those are 5 cards that are going to synergize, The cards will serve not only as the buildings, but they're going to have symbols on them too that say like wheat or something like this. You can use this as a secondary way to feed into a building, to feed it goods, to help it produce things. I'll talk about how they produce in a second. There's 3 areas in this game that end up being very luck, or not very, but more luck driven than I would necessarily like. So when you get those 5 cards, you're hoping for them to synergize. I've been in the position, in at least a few of those games, where my cards totally synergized to making textiles, but that wasn't my goal. So I had to keep revamping my cards, hoping to get cards that'll let me produce food. Okay, then what you do is you are going to have certain action selection cubes here. And you put them on what you want to do. If you build a card, you start with one card that produces coal. You put your token probably there, and that says, I would like to produce coal on that card. But there's a choice in there. How much do you want the coal to make? A little, a medium, or a lot. And depending on what it is, it's going to require a certain amount of workers of certain colors. In the game, there's going to be a bag, and from this bag, you're going to draw out workers. They may be the colors you need. They might not be. And that's kind of just how it's going to go. You can hedge your bets and play the odds that what you need is going to come out, and it just won't happen. Had that a bunch of times. Okay, so maybe you try to play conservative. So for example, in this bag, it's 1/3 of the bag is yellow workers. This card needs 2 yellow workers. And in the first round of the game, you start with 2 yellow workers. The 2 are already taken care of. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to go for max production. And in the case of mass production, it says you need the minimum workers, 2 yellow, but you also need 2 more workers. 2 more workers to satisfy this card from the bag. Well, 1/3 of the bag is just yellow. There's yellow, green, red, and blue. I think my odds are pretty good. On the outside chance, I can also trade in my cards here from my hand, 3 of them when I start the game, to substitute for a worker. Well, as fate would have it, not one single yellow worker came out. I could not produce anything there. There are only 7 rounds in this game, and if you blow some element of your turn, I mean, it's basically saying you're just going to lose. It's very disheartening. I have found it impossible to recover from a blown action. So, okay, so you go conservative there. It doesn't matter. I've had games where none of what I needed came out on a turn and it was totally blown. That's okay. So that's element 1, drawing the workers that are random. Element 2, getting the cards that might synergize. That's kind of random. Then you have this board where you are trying to place your buildings once you do build them. So you place your building on any one of these locations, and they have different symbols. Well, the different symbols mean some cards will let you get discounts if you're built on a symbol. Sometimes if you're the first to build there, and in a solo game, you're going to be the first to build there, you're going to get a tile that might benefit you. It gives a discount of some sort like that. But in reality, what I discovered is where I was building just happened to either be where I needed to be next to get a discount, or the tile I really need to help me in my situation isn't near me, it's over there. And there's a lot of just guessing and hoping that what you need is going to come up. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about this is, in the solo game, the opening scenario's requirement is that you have 2 military built. You build 2 military. Now, I have played 2 games out of my 11 where not one military card came out. That is correct. Not one single military card came out. I talked about it in the Euro group. It was infuriating. And I know this isn't necessarily my fault, because when I played all my cards, I synergized that like crazy. I had no leftover money. I was taking money from one card, building another, feeding goods from one card into another card to produce a more expensive item, paying cards directly from my hand to chain and put extras. And when you build from your hand, you also get a bonus, okay, when you do that. Not a single stranded good or money at the end of the game. I maximized that thing. Still couldn't do it, because in at least one of those games, of the 2 that didn't have military cards, I optimized like crazy, and no military come out, and that just was the fate of the game. So I found that frustrating. And so what does that tell me? Well, that tells me, I get a lot of flack on the Twitter and stuff when I'm, Mr. Negative Nelly, and I'm like, don't listen to these reviewers who review games once and then put out their opinion. Because, why are they doing that? They're doing that because they want to be the first with a video, because they want likes, they want views, and that's where their satisfaction comes from. To my surprise are the people who are like, oh yeah, that's great. I mean, that's the kind of review I want. I I don't know who that schmo is, but if you're going to pay $60 for a game that you're going to only want to play one time, well, then you deserve to lose that $60. But you know who is not fair to? The creator, okay, who put a lot of time in and knows the bones. Now, granted, I played this 10 or 11, you know, not the hundreds of times Mr. Pfister probably played this game. But so far, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of luck elements to it. And I'm going to give away some telltales that tell me that's not just in my head. When I find games that have copious amounts of card draws, like Funfair. Funfair is a very sweet and lighthearted game. But that's a game where they just tell you, draw a ton of cards, pick what you want. A massive market to pick from. There are so many cards, so many elements, mechanisms put in that game to mitigate your cards in your hand. It's basically confessing that you might have a poop hand. You are screwed. You need to fix it. So I'm putting out all these draws. And that's what this game has too. This has the thing where it says like draw 8, then keep 5. There's an action over here where you can pay and switch out your cards again. You know, here, get rid of 2 more cards and just convert it straight into goods. They're basically saying your cards, you know, you might be stuck with cards. Okay. There's cards in the event deck that comes out. There's, like I said, there's 7 rounds and every round is going to have an event deck. And it says, put out 6 cards. All right, put out 4 more cards. So you not only have these you can build all these. Basically, all these out routes for being stuck with bad cards. Now, am I a bad player? Possibly. Am I playing it wrong? I mean, well, you know, that's my middle name, but I don't think so. I've read it a number of times and I've watched videos. So I know I'm fairly confident, like 100% confident that I'm playing it correctly. I've even watched Paul Grogan play it. He was a great Euro game player, and he failed playing it. And he even says in the video, I'm not sure there's anything else I could have done to squeak more points out. You know, I just lost this scenario. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it. So, disillusioned, disheartened. I'm not really sure I want to give this many more tries. And I'm going to extrapolate that just a hair to say I'm not sure I want to play this multiplayer. I usually learn games solo so that I'm ready to play it with my wife, or, you know, if I had friends over. I mean, pre-COVID, I had friends over all the time. Pre-baby too, you know, but life changed. But I always play it solo. And from the solo experience, what I can gather is 2 things. One, it's very fun to synergize your cards and maximize. That's fun, no doubt about that. But in a multiplayer mode, with it opened wide, okay, that I don't just have to make food, I can do food and textiles, I do have more options. However, it feels to me that everyone is going to be optimizing their own cards, okay? We're all good Euro players. We might happen to be where we need to be on the board to get a discount when we build. Like a card will say, you get 3 off if you build it in a blue territory. Oh, that's right there. There's an element in the card that says if you only travel 1 spot, you get to take the tile from the spot. But if you travel 2 locations, you don't get the bonus tile. Well, if you have the card that's going to give you a discount on the blue and it's only 1 away from you, that's a no-brainer. Get the discount and get the tile. But, you know, if I need that tile, but I'm 2 away, or I don't have enough because it's not on blue, so it's more money than I can afford to build, well, then I'm just kind of stuck. And so what it ends up being in a multiplayer game is, I think, your lucky draws in the beginning, your accuracy with if the workers are drawing from the bag to let you get that max hit. You know, I think it might boil down to that if you're all, you know, ace players. So I don't know, man. You know, I am going to play it more because I want to at least win the first scenario once. I won it one time, but I had so much talk in my own head. I wasn't sure if I did something wrong, like if I did the exchanges right. And I'll tell you, even Grogan, when he was playing the game, he undid turns to re-maximize his turns, and he still lost. So that gives me more confidence that it's not just me. So, okay, so that's Newdale. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have to go back and get Oh My Goods. I borrowed it briefly, which is what encouraged me, but I would like to own it in the expansion to play it and see how I like it. Anyway, pass. If you're buying that for solo, my suggestion is pass. But I will tell you, a lot of good players in the Euro board game group also enjoy it. So, hey, you know, each their own. Not for me. Stagg Junior is for me. Skip the reviewers who after one time, because if you asked me after one time on this play, I would have been like, this game is the bomb. You're like synergizing cards and it feels so good, and you're taking a gamble on how successful the card's going to be, and you're finding your locations. That's up to you. And then after a few plays, I realized, oh, okay, well, I played the odds, but it didn't work out. So that screwed up the rest of my turn. And then when you screwed up your one turn, you're basically sank. So, okay. Anyway, thanks so much, friends. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, if you have suggestions of games or topics, or if you just have any questions, write them on the video, and I'm going to start reading questions and answering them. So anyway, take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.